Conservative media folks, what's up? It's me, John D. Villarreal, and Paul F. Villarreal there. Now, we just watched this this memorial service thing, whatever, in Tucson Memorial, I guess. And President Obama was there, and Michelle Obama was there, and Janet Napolitano was there, and Eric Holder was there, and the whole 9 yards. And we've got some quick reactions to it. We want to let you know what we think about it. My basic take, there's a lot of things that come to mind. I guess I have some questions. At a high level, I have no problem with President Obama being there. A lot of what he said I thought was great, and you know, honors the people that have died, and also, you know, support to Congresswoman Giffords that is in the hospital trying to recover and everything like that. And I think that that's, you know, totally cool, and it's understandable. And you know, in a lot of ways we expect our president to do that, so that's fine. I have no issue with that. And I thought that, you know, some people, you know, Paul can talk to this because he was monitoring more of the Twitter stuff. I guess we're saying, you know, oh, Wellstone, it's like the Wellstone Memorial. I didn't feel that. I don't think that I don't think that that's quite justified. I didn't see the sort of naked politicking, in my personal opinion, that we saw at the Wellstone Memorial and whatnot. Now, that being said, there were some things that were, you know, kind of struck me as odd, and I kind of wasn't quite sure it just was appropriate. But, you know, again, I'm not here to nitpick and you know, it's Obama, so it's bad, and it's no, it's just some things that I step back and I asked a question about, I guess, right? Question number one, it's a memorial service. Why do we have a big podium with the presidential seal on there? I half expected like Putin or someone to come out like it was a press conference or something. That seemed odd. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Number two, you know, we had this, you know, I guess I'm used to, like, you know, when you know, Reagan passed and Margaret Thatcher, and then maybe that was a little different thing. It was like in the cathedral and all that, and like, why do we have this huge, it almost seemed like a big political rally. It just was kind of odd. Like, we had, well, how many people were there? 10,000, 30,000? I don't know. It just, that, you know, I mean, if you're one of the families of one of the victims, like the little girl or something like that, or the you know, Republican appointed judge, I mean, is that a little unseemly? Now let's talk about the crowd. I mean, there were times where they were just like, yay! Again, it's like I can't recall getting that fired up at a memorial service. Is that appropriate? I'm not the, you know, emotions police or anything else like that. I'm not saying that, you know, anyone can do whatever they want at their funeral or memorial service or whatever like that. But I'm just talking about, it's like one of those things where you just watch something and you're just like, something doesn't quite feel right and you can't quite put your finger on it. That just seemed, I just kind of was like a little bit like, ew, you know, a little kind of, it just was kind of icky. I know Paul's gonna have some comments here in 1 second. The other thing I want to say is that we had, you know, this, what seemed like a VIP section in front. And this is, again, supposed to be a memorial service for the victims of this heinous act, this brutal shooting. But the VIP section was filled almost entirely with politicians. We had former, you know, Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor there. We had Janet Napolitano there. We had, you know, I think Senator Kyle was there. And then we even had Sheriff Dupnick there in this VIP section and stuff like that. Is this about the politicians, or is this about the people that, you know, actually got killed and their families and people that are injured? That just struck me as a little weird. And let's talk about Sheriff Dupnick. Again, as I said, what's up with this guy? With the weird contrast about that, about Sheriff Dupnick being there. If you want Sheriff Dupnick there, have him there. That's fine. But what the weird contrast was is, here's Sheriff Dupnick right there in the end, you know, seemingly, and this is maybe me being cynical, so the cameras could catch him in the VIP section. And yet, when President Obama pointed out, you know, one of the people or a couple of the people that tackled Loeffner to make sure that, you know, he couldn't shoot any more people, that risked their lives to save more people's lives and bring this heinous shooting to an end, they were off somewhere there in the back where people couldn't, it and the cameras are scrambling to try to even get a shot of them. Why are they over there? And Sheriff Dupnick, who didn't do anything, had no real involvement here in this whole situation of saving anyone's lives or stopping Loeffner or whatever like that. Why? And who was, been using fairly heated rhetoric, in my personal opinion, in terms of inflammatory against Rush Limbaugh and others. Why is he in the VIP section? That seemed quite odd. And there were times where, when there was this big applause, yay! And it seemed like, Obama was kind of basking in it, like smiling, like he was doing a campaign rally. I said, whoa, I thought this was a memorial service. So again, I don't want to sit here and nitpick everything and second guess everything. But those are just and I'm glad President Obama was there. Oh yeah, and then two more things real quick. Paul's going to have his own thoughts here. It's like, there were times where Michelle Obama, when they were talking about Congresswoman Giffords, that Michelle Obama was holding her husband's hand and giving him a hug and leaning over and grabbing him, and between James Napolitano on his left and Michelle Obama on his right, I thought the guy was just gonna get swarmed there, dude. It was almost like he was a rock star getting hugged and mugged by groupies or something like that, figuratively speaking, of course. And it's just like, whoa, that is that's a little. Would you see that at a funeral? Do these people really know this guy? It just seems a little. Maybe they do. I don't know. Maybe, but it just seemed a little weird to me. It seemed a little forced. So that was kind of also, I thought, a little odd. And then President Obama with his line about hey, and I put this one on the fence because I could see it either way. On the one hand, he's says that, hey, look, we were in there and Congresswoman Giffords opened her eyes for the first time. Now, look, that's sort of a news thing, and that's obviously topical, and that's something that people would want to know, and I think that's important. So on the one hand, say, okay, that's legit. On the other hand, it's just why couldn't her husband or someone else said that? Or it was kind of like, it was almost like this, it relived, maybe I'm too sensitive to this, but it almost, for me, it kind of relived that whole campaign thing of the oceans are going to cool and he's the one. Are you, again, the second coming? You went in there and healed her? Maybe I'm being too harsh, but that just, I don't know. It just was odd. And the last thing I want to say is, why is Janet Napolitano and Eric Holder there? Again, like Sheriff Dupnick. Don't you guys have jobs to do? It's not like we haven't had apparently threats and stuff like that coming from an increased chatter, I think, around the holidays coming from Europe and other places like that, and things that we need to do here and things that we need to prepare. Don't you need, aren't you needed other places? How do you have any kind of real contact and relationship with this story or anything like that here? Paul, what were your impressions of the situation, and what do you think of my take?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that you take on Janet Napolitano and Eric Holder. I definitely felt it was. I know Napolitano is from that area of the country, and so okay, take a little thing like that. Like you said, I could be more pressing things to do now, but I really didn't understand Eric Holder being there, and that's just my own personal feeling about it. I know other people said that as well. The cynic in me, or the political realist, if you would say, look, you bring up a president who has been criticized for partisanship and the heated rhetoric that his allies have used, and you bring in two figures in the administration that have been widely criticized, in Napolitano and Eric Holder, and you have them read biblical scriptures when you've been criticized as the president not being religious enough, and it's kind of like a mass. It can appear as a mass public relations bonanza, and so there's the cynic in me says it seems a bit hokey or forced. And again, maybe I'm being too cynical about that, but that's the part of me that the kind of the strategist or whatever, if you will. So that I really didn't get Eric Holder there, but that's how I felt. Now, the one other thing that really struck me as kind of misplaced, if you will, were the T-shirts.
Yeah.
We Thrive. It reminded me of how there were pre-made placards during the healthcare town hall rallies, many of which were criticized as being staged and filled with union members and the people from Organizing for America, OFA. It's like, as you mentioned, it gives the appearance of a campaign rally instead of a memorial service. It's like together we thrive. We're here to, there's the 9-year-old girl who was shot dead, and we're talking about together we thrive. I mean, it just kind of...
Yeah, who would think of making those T-shirts? Why would there be a slogan? Who would make them? Who would pass them out? How would all this be done, obviously, way ahead of time for a memorial service?
Yeah, look, one of the things one of the things that's been mentioned by media people and Democrat strategists since this unfortunate tragedy occurred was that Obama, or actually before, was that Obama needed his own Oklahoma City, because the conventional wisdom goes that after Bill Clinton lost, suffered great defeat in the 1994 midterms, the Democrats did, and being the head of the Democratic Party, the Oklahoma City kind of did the bombing, the terrible bombing by Timothy McVeigh, gave Bill Clinton the opportunity to regain the political center that he lost. And so there were people that were openly discussing this event and this speech in those terms. Again, the cynic in me says, were they executing that strategy? Was it a little bit too calculated? And when you see those T-shirts there, you get a kind of that feeling. And then when you also, as you mentioned, you see the people cheering and like applause lines involving this 9-year-old girl. It's like, that just doesn't feel right to me personally, to my own, taste and whatever. And then finally, there's, President Obama and a lot of Democrats saying that they want to call for, unity and stability and all this stuff. And we got word tonight that former Alaskan Governor Sarah Palin has received the most death threats at any time. That she's received an unprecedented level of death threats. And when she mentioned earlier in the video that she did earlier today, that we commented on in the video that we did earlier, she's been unfairly, and conservatives have been unfairly demonized in this whole process. Like somehow they had something to do with it. When it came out today that a friend of the suspect said, look, the guy didn't even listen to political radio or the news or anything. But it's like, it's kind of like a bizarro world, because Democrats are saying that she might have incited bad feelings or caused tension in the air, where now she's the one that's the recipient of that same thing. So it felt a little bit kind of surreal to hear this discussion of unity and people clapping and celebrating when a very notable figure in the Republican Party is getting apparently a flood of death threats. So that just felt weird.
It is weird. What did you guys think about, first of all, again, this is all our own personal opinion. We're not casting aspersions. We're not alleging any facts. It's up to you to do your own research and come to your own decision. And you know that this is all for informational and entertainment purposes, and even a parody purpose only. You know that. Check the disclaimers, everything like that. Now, I want to know what you guys think about that. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? What were your own impressions? What did you think and feel like when you saw it? Do you think Obama's right or wrong? What kind of grade do you give him? What about Sheriff Dupnick, Jan Napolitano, the T-shirts, applause, all that? You tell me what you think. You tell me if you were one of the victims' families there, how you would have taken it. Is it good? Is it bad? Maybe all his attention is good. Maybe some of the things, as we said, maybe raise some questions. I want to know what's up. That is Paul. I'm John. You're watching Conservative Media. Comments below. Subscribe above. Please rate it high. We'll see you next time.